Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 74 of the Beginner to Master Speedrun. So I'm coming into today rated 2275, getting closer to 2300. And let's try and keep it going, and I'll hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent, playing CG CHV. I'll play E4. I have been playing some London opening recently, but switching back to my more aggressive E4 repertoire, let's go for a Grand Prix attack. Pawn F4. E6 is sometimes a sign that black will play D5, but yeah, D6 is also playable. And I think what I want to do I want to put the bishop on C4 or B5? I think bishop B5 is a bit more justified here, because black has already played E6, so the bishop would just be less effective on C4. And I think I just want to take immediately, double black's pawns, and then play D3. So I did concede the bishop pair, but this is kind of the quintessential setup of the Grand Prix. Pawns like this, knights like that, queen c7. So there are a few different plans going into the middle game. I should be considering e5. e5, knight d5, knight e4 could be interesting. And there's also the idea of just playing queen g3, f5, and attacking. There's also b3, bishop b2. So I'm still looking at this e5 move, just to try and disturb black's structure. I guess there's knight d7, but then I take. I don't think I want to commit, though. I'm going to play b3. More flexible move, more patient move. Sometimes the bishop likes to fianchetto on the long diagonal. Also, if black ever plays rook b8, the b file is not really exploitable. And I'm also discouraging c4, which is sometimes a positional sacrifice for black. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of playing bishop b2. There's even some cases where I'll play knight a4 and c4 and get a clamp in the center and on the queen side. Okay, pawn e5. So this opens a bishop, but it does allow me to take. And black's going to be left with some not so pretty pawn structure. Like knight a4 looks even more attractive now, pressuring this pawn and this pawn. Probably expecting bishop d6. And there are two attackers, so there's not too many ways for black to defend e5. We see bishop g4. Wow. So can I just take? I mentioned this a few episodes ago, but before you eat something, you have to ask yourself, is it poison? And I don't think this is poison. I think this is just free food. As I hit the bishop, and there's no good discoveries against a knight. Queen g3 likely coming. Oh, okay, that move I actually missed. I'm wondering if I can take on f6. Because if pawn takes, I take the bishop, and life is good. There is bishop takes e5. And then I take, and then queen takes. I save the rook. I'll be up a pawn. Is there anything better? If I take here, then there's a lot of pressure against h2. I mean, I might have h3. And then bishop h2, king h1. It looks scary, but the knight would be attacked. Yeah, this is definitely a critical moment. I think both moves are completely playable. It's just a matter of figuring out which is better. Takes h3. If rook takes, we trade. I think rook takes f6 is actually safer. We simplify a bit more. Oh, black doesn't take the knight, so now I just take the bishop. And I defend and I attack. I could take on f6. I could also take here first, and then knight f6 is coming. Yeah, this game kind of just went downhill for black. We'll take the rook. Queen g3. I mean, c5 is hanging. Rook f1. Might as well start with knight takes c5. If queen b6, I play queen f2. And maybe the knight can make its way to the king side. Queen takes b3. Okay. A funny Botez gambit to finish the game there. Pretty clean game overall. I think my opponent maybe moved a bit too quickly, was a bit reckless when things got tactical. And yeah, I mean, goes to show just the simplicity of the Grand Prix setup. This is maybe slightly different from what I usually play. It's a different setup from black too, because the more traditional Grand Prix is after d6, f4, let's say g6, here. This is a case where the bishop comes to c4. But with e6 early, yeah, very often the bishop likes to come to b5. And yeah, here we saw the example of positional play on the queen side. And e5, I think, is a big positional mistake, just leaving black with these weak pawns. It wouldn't be over. I was expecting bishop d6, and the pawns are defended. But yeah, this is really pleasant to play for white. I'm not sure exactly what I would have played here. h3 looks nice to prevent this or this. And then I think the plan for white would be to add 1 and 2 more attackers to c5. And yeah, there's never a case where this pawn can be defended by another pawn. And if that ever pushes, I'm always controlling c4. I could also maneuver my knight to c4. So very fun position for white to play. And of course in the game, yeah, it just got pretty bad for black pretty quickly. Bishop takes e5 should have been played. I was going to take, and then probably rook f2. Although engine says rook takes c6 is another free pawn. c5 would be hanging. So, okay, nice game to start the episode. Up to 2280. Let's keep it going. Next opponent, playing a Bazars. And we have e4. I'll play Sicilian. And I have been playing a lot of Taimanov recently. At some point, I'll probably switch up the openings a bit. If there's people watching who would like to see a different black opening against e4, let me know in the comments. We might have I was going to say non-open Sicilian, but we have a delayed open Sicilian. And this is the start of the Taimanov variation. So I have been encountering a few different types of lines against the Taimanov in the recent episodes. Last episode, I did encounter knight takes c6 in a slightly earlier position. But yeah, generally I'm happy to just have the center here. I think d5 is reasonable. White is maybe preparing bishop f4, but then I can play e5, get back initiative. I do have to be careful of like knight b5 or bishop b5. I think it should be okay. Could be a little bit tricky though. Because if I take with the c-pawn, knight b5, queen b6, and then bishop f4. How do I defend c7? I don't really want to take with this pawn, but I might have to. Knight b5. Oh, actually I have queen e5 check. But queen e5, bishop e2. Bishop f4 is still a threat. Yeah, this is actually really tricky. Takes knight b5. Do I have queen takes c2? Threatening bishop b4. That might be okay. And what if bishop f4 immediately? Bishop d6? That still looks a little bit wrong for black. I think this is just safer. I may have walked into some like weird opening prep. I'm going to take with this pawn. I definitely have to analyze this after the game. I think it's kind of necessary to keep the pawns like this to restrict the knight and or bishop. And there is some benefit to taking this way as I open up this bishop. Let's go for bishop d6. I don't think this works. Okay, we're trading a bit. I'm happy with the trades, because now there's much less pressure on my position. I'm probably just playing knight f6 and castle. I'm kind of debating between this and this. I think knight f6 makes a bit more sense. Just more active. Supports bishop g4 in some cases. Yeah, let's castle. This actually resembles the structure that you sometimes see from a four-knight Scotch. Black has the so-called hanging pawns, defined by a group of pawns that have no pawns on these neighboring files. So these pawns could be potentially weak, but they could also be strong. Like if I get in c5 and control space, it could be nice. Rook b8 is a move. Yeah, let's start with rook b8. Just pressure the b2 pawn. b3 makes sense. Play bishop e6. I'm holding off on bishop g4. If I play bishop g4, white would probably just play queen g3, and bishop's not doing much there. And one idea of bishop e6 is to reinforce d5, maybe eventually play c5 and c4. White goes for this knight maneuver. There's a cool move, rook b4 here, which not only prevents knight f4, but might allow for some crazy rook lift. Like rook b4, a3, rook g4, h3. My rook might get kicked around. What are my other options? Because knight f4 is coming. And bishop g4 here, queen g3. We trade. I could play rook e8. I think rook e8 is actually like solid and flexible. And if knight f4, I'll probably have some options. Queen g3, okay. I kind of want to take and then play c5. It's a very solid position for white. I could play queen b4 and keep queens on the board. Let's go ahead and take. Yeah, this might be a hard game to win. There's still some imbalance, especially with the queenside pawn structure. And with c5, it would be nice to get my pawns on dark squares. f4 is very committal. Opponent offers a draw, which I don't think I want. I can play this move. I think white was trying to improve, but in doing so, they really weakened the e3 square. And with d4, I'm supporting the idea of the knight eventually coming to e3. I think this is a case where I definitely don't want to take en passant. I probably just want to play knight g4. And if I get the knight to e3, then life is going to be very good. It's hard for white to remove the knight. And the bishop can probably be improved. Maybe bishop d7 to c6. There's also bishop g4 here. Yeah, bishop g4 looks nice. And then eventually improve the rooks. I have to keep my eyes peeled for tactics. There is a potential pin, but it's not a concern just yet. I'm going to start with rook e6. Some idea to play rook a6 and target a2. There's also some idea of doubling up on the e-file. King h2. I have a long-term idea of playing rook h6, rook h5, rook b6, rook bh6, and then mating. I don't know if I want to start with... Wait, let's consider the options here, because I could take and then knight g4. The takes there's rook takes. I'm just going to play this move. I think I want to leave the king on h2, because there are these potential knight forks if my bishop ever moves away. Oh man, this is so close to checkmate. I think I win material by force. Rook h6, knight h3. I take, and then knight g4, and then I win the rook on e1. Let's go for this. Yeah, especially with the time situation. I want to simplify, cash in with the material. Yeah, it's going to be important which rook I take after king g2. I don't want to take this rook because I get mated, but I'll take the rook on e1. Knight g4 attacks king and both rooks. Now my rooks can coordinate on the first rank. Didn't quite see that move coming. That's a good move. Yeah, let's just move back. And yeah, my rook probably belongs somewhere in my territory for the time being. But this rook is happy on e1. Yeah, maybe I can go for rook e6 and then just control the only open file in the position. There's not really much white can do here. There's very little active play. We might see the pawns advance. We might see white like wait with the king, maybe king f3. I mean, my strategy is to improve this rook, probably improve my king, and then either look to advance my pawn, maybe trade a pair of rooks. Yeah, f5 is played. I'll go for rook a6. Maybe I want to play rook a1. I think I want to start with f6 here. not so easy to advance the pawn. So if I ever play rook d6, there's bishop d3. Wow, b4. So take c5, rook here. Looks pretty good. Okay, d4 is attacked. Could defend. There's no rush though. Start with rook c1. If rook takes, I win a2. Maybe I can just go after the a2 pawn. Although then c5. Hmm. Okay, my king should definitely be on a dark square. But my rooks are finding happy places. Yeah, I was thinking like rook a1 to win the pawn, but c5 would enable bishop c4. And that's why I want my king on f8. And it's not easy for white to find a move here. Okay, well now I can't take the pawn, but let's just play king f8. Yeah, that was tricky. White basically said, oh no, my pawn, but yeah, there was bishop d5 check. So now, yeah, we traded pawns. This should be pretty straightforward. 2 moves away from promotion. Maybe I can set up some mating ideas too. I guess the bishop does control h1. Rook b8 is likely coming. And yeah, might as well push. Still might be a question how I actually queen the pawn. I can take this pawn. Oh, I lose back a pawn. Yeah, white's been resisting pretty well, considering the circumstances. I'm just going to force a rook trade. If rook e2, I play rook e5. I got somewhat low on time, but this is still plenty of time to win the position. We trade rooks. Take with rook. And the pawn will advance. Rook b2 is coming. Yeah, might be playing this out until mate. Or not. Okay. Opponent resigns. So, yeah, interesting game. I definitely want to take a look at the opening. Definitely some different stages in this game. My opponent played what I always thought is just a not so dangerous line. But this queen f3 move maybe was quite tricky. After takes, yeah, like I'm so used to just taking back towards the center, but this would have been a really big blunder. Uh, because yeah, either knight b5 or bishop f4. And I spent some time calculating this and trying to make it work for black. But yeah, thankfully I came to the conclusion it's just too dangerous. Bishop f4 is the best move for white. And then, yeah, I mean, e5, there's knight takes d5. And if my queen moves, then there's knight b5, or even stronger, bishop b5 in this case. So, yeah, I was aware of the danger. I took back with e-pawn. And this is still playable. I'm wondering if, is there a better move than d5? I guess I could also start with knight f6 here, and then better prepare d5. Engine saying the best move for white is g4. Wow. Maybe some new Taimanov theory emerging after this game. But yeah, anyway, we got kind of a solid position for both sides. Very similar to the 4-knight Scotch. And I thought it was going to be like very difficult to get an advantage. But I think over the course of just a few moves, white made some pretty severe positional mistakes. Or maybe just over the course of one move, pawn f4. And oh, wow. So in this position, I completely missed a tactical possibility. I was only thinking about the positional ramifications of pawn f4. But when I played c5, I actually wasn't aware of what I was threatening. And clearly neither was my opponent. Black is threatening to trap the bishop. And when white plays f4, I can just play c4 and trap the bishop. This didn't cross my mind. I mean, it crossed my mind like earlier as like a positional gain to like weaken the queen side. But it just didn't cross my mind as a tactical idea to win a bishop. And white has no way to save it. Like if takes, bishop's still trapped. f5 is a counterattack, but then I take, hitting the knight, and black will be up a piece in the end. So that was a big miss. Let me know in the comments if you're watching and you spotted c4 in this moment. Good job to those viewers who did. But yeah, when I played d4, I was still happy, thinking that I'm getting e3 square, and it ended up working out quite well. Now in this position, white should have played c3, recognize my plan and try and get rid of this pawn. But after c4, yeah, it's very nice positional play, which eventually led to winning material. Just looking at the engine move. In this position, black has a crazy engine move. Bishop d1, top stockfish move. Simply clearing the square for the knight. It's just such a hard move to consider, though, putting the bishop deep in white's territory. And yeah, knight g4 is basically unstoppable, because if king h1, still knight g4, and black's attacking both rooks. If white takes on e6, we take with check first, and then win the other rook. And if rook takes bishop, we take and fork. So yeah, I don't think I would have ever found bishop d1 there. But rook h6 was good enough. I won material, and eventually converted after a bit of a struggle. But okay, another nice game. Hopefully a lot of lessons to take away from that game. I'm up to 2285. Let's do one more to wrap up the episode. Okay, next opponent, playing Minu, 2004. Yeah, we'll keep it e4 themed for today. And I'll play knight f3. What do I want to play? Let's play a Scotch. Feels like I haven't played a Scotch in a little while. Bishop c5. So I'm going to go for knight b3. This is a more modern approach. This is what chessmood.com recommends. And I'll play queen e2. I think I played this line maybe once or twice so far in the speedrun. The queen e2 looks a little bit strange because it blocks a bishop, but the idea is to eventually castle queenside, sometimes fianchetto, light squared bishop, and also support bishop e3 for the trade of dark square bishops. There's another idea that if knight f6, I can play e5. Black plays queen f6. I think I'll just go for knight c3 here. And there's some idea of playing knight d5. Black discourages it. I mean, knight d5 might still be possible, but there's takes, and even though I check and attack the knight, there's knight e7. So I'm pretty sure this is still part of my opening prep. I did play this queen e2 line in Beal against a pretty strong grandmaster, and it got a very similar position. I'm not sure if it was this exact position. I think a5 was included. But h4 is a very thematic idea when the queen is here to support bishop to g5. And h6 is a fine move. And now it might look like bishop g5 is still possible because after takes, I hit the queen and rook, but then there's queen takes f2, takes with check, takes, and then I drop a rook in the end. So it doesn't quite work. I'm vaguely remembering g4 as a move, which looks crazy, but I'm pretty sure this is still prep. And the idea is to eventually play g5. I'm actually remembering like f4, g5. Knight d4, okay. I think I have to take this. I can't move my queen and allow knight f3 check. I'm totally fine advancing my kingside pawns because the plan is to eventually castle queenside. Black is pausing here. I think bishop d2 looks pretty natural. I mean, what else to do? Yeah, multi-purpose, defend the knight, prepare queenside castling. Actually, before I queenside castle, I probably want to move my f-pawn. Because otherwise queen takes f2 could be possible. So it's a fun-looking position. And black is still a bit underdeveloped. Black is also like very disincentivized to castle kingside. I'm already making my intentions very clear of storming on the king side. And black's a little bit slow to castle queenside. Has to figure out how to develop the bishop. So doing well on time. This is one of the advantages of being decently prepared in the opening. I was able to play h4, g4 relatively quickly. Get a position that I'm a bit more comfortable with. Queen b6. Interesting move. Hitting b2 and also pressuring f2. I mean, can I sack the pawn? Like queenside castle, I lose f2, and then knight a4? And then the queen goes back to f6? Looks like it should be good. e5 in that case. I think I should just castle and make black decide. And this is part calculation and part intuition. I'm pretty sure f2 is just poisonous. I still have to watch out for the pressure against b2. I can't play knight d5 anytime soon because I get mated. F4 still looks attractive here. Then if bishop e6, then actually bishop e6, f5, bishop takes a2. Oh, but then I have queen b5 check. Maybe. I have queen b5 right away as well. Wait, f4, bishop e6. Yeah, it's slightly annoying. Also looking at knight a4. think would force queen c6. And then I can't play queen b5 because g4 hangs. If I have this move, then just trade and structure is bad. I think f4... Wait, so f4, bishop e6, how am I defending? Maybe just a3. Yeah, that should be fine. Let's go for f4. A winning connect 4, but not quite winning the chess game. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out this line. Bishop e6, f5, bishop takes a2. Can I trap the bishop with b3? Maybe that's the way to go, because I'm already attacking with the knight. I prevent the mating idea on b2. Yeah, that actually looks very simple. I guess there is bishop takes e3, bishop takes e3. The bishop's still stuck. I feel like a5 should be a little bit too slow. I'll always have queen b5 to throw in. And with the pawns all advanced like this, there's some idea of rook h3 and rook lifting along the third rank. Okay, I think f5 is fine here. I'm just blunder checking. We might see bishop d7. I have conceded the e5 square, but I'm also just gaining space on the king side. So black goes for this. Bobby Fischer style. Now just b3. I was also looking at the line queen b5, c6. But if I take the queen takes back, the rook defends a bishop. That's probably not good for me. There is, oh, queen b5, c6, queen a4, but then bishop takes c3. Yeah, let's just go for this. I don't think I'm scared of bishop b3. Ooh. Okay, so if I take, I get mated. Yeah, that move I did not see coming. I mean, I do have queen b5. Queen b5 actually looks quite good. So I force a queen trade, c6, bishop moves back, trade, trade. Eventually this bishop will be lost. I even have knight takes. I think both moves are winning. Bishop takes might be just simpler. c6, bishop d3, takes, takes, and king b2 is coming. And black could try takes, takes, a5. Oh, but a4 is not in time. There's sometimes a rescue mission that the a-pawn can try and do and open the a-file. But yeah, it's just too slow. So I win the bishop for a pawn. And now it's just a matter of managing my time, not blundering, improve the pieces, maybe try and win more material. I guess it's, what, bishop for 2 pawns? Because black won a2 and then gave up the piece on b3. And usually the minor piece is, even in situations like this, a minor piece would be more valuable than 3 pawns. So it should be a pretty big advantage for white. Just going to play king c2. Over defending the knight. Can I pressure the d file? I'm looking at the square. especially with black committing to f6. I'll play bishop e6. So some ideas of bishop e6, also ideas of bishop f4. Unleash the rook. Yeah, not easy to get the knight into e6. I'll play knight e2. Maybe it will be easy. I don't mind if bishop takes knight, I take back, have the bishop pair. Yeah, it feels reminiscent of last game, creating this very strong outpost in the opponent's territory. And black has to choose between two evils there, either conceding the bishop or allowing the knight to come in. But now, yeah, now my bishops are really nicely placed. G5 looks nice. Just to try and open another avenue on the king side. And the point is to eventually win the g-pawn. I'll play bishop e6 here. I should be like always looking for tactics like rook takes d6 and rook d1. Doesn't quite work just yet. Yeah, now the rook is ready to invade. The knight would like to be on e5, but yeah, it's just misplaced on e7. And the opponent resigns. So a nice clean game. Yeah, fun opening too. This modern Scotch, knight b3, and the quick kingside pawn advance. Hopefully some lessons to take away from this opening. Yeah, I do have to give credit to chessmood.com for inspiring me to start playing the Scotch more frequently. They have a lot of great prep on their website. And yeah, we saw prep come in handy in this game. Seems like I got a pleasant edge out of the opening, and everything was pretty much under control. Yeah, bishop e6. The engine actually doesn't fully like f5. It says I missed knight b5, which I didn't consider. Maybe I should. I forgot my knight could actually move. In this case, it blocks a queen, hits a bishop. And if bishop c5... Oh wow, there's b4. I'm essentially trapping the bishop. If bishop f2... Okay, this is some engine line. f5, bishop takes a2, knight c3, like both bishops in danger. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to play like the engine. And f5 was still fine, and then yeah, bishop takes a2 was just a blunder. Walking into this, I won the piece, and life was good. So I think I'll end it there, up to 2293. Hopefully next episode I can break 2300. Hope you guys enjoyed the games today. If you have questions, do leave them below. And if you like the content, do subscribe. It does help the channel, and I'll see you guys soon.